Okay, I have a question for you. Go. I have a good one. Oh, I'm so surprised. You never ask me questions. Yeah, this is going to make you stop laughing in your tracks. Oh my God. When did you first realize that hormones were running the show? Oh, maybe I'm not the best person to ask that, because in my case, unfortunately, I had thyroid gland disorder, which kicked in heavily and full impact when I was 16. Right, but that's not the first time you felt hormones, because you had your period before that. I had my period, and my period came when I was 10 years old. Mine too. It's terrible. It's awful. The only thing that I remember from my first period is my mom slapping me on my face, because that is the custom. So you guys celebrate the fact that you're going to, oh my God, from the next 40 years in misery all over my face. And because I realized, I went to the bathroom, I realized that I started bleeding. I called my mom, because of course we did not have the conversation before that. And the first thing that happened, yeah. And first thing that happened, she's like, "Pah!" And I was like, and she's like, "That's for the good luck. That is to just burst the bubble of the fear that you just went in, right? And then I'm just going to give you some information. This is going to happen basically every month. This is what you need to use." In Serbia at that time, tampons were not. You would never give a 10-year-old a tampon. Yeah, and not even then. Even through all my life, I rarely used tampons, right? Because our mindset, our pads, that's what we're using, right? And at the beginning, I was using, oh my God, those completely made out of the cotton that are in a little net. I've seen those. I've bought those. They still sell them here. But yeah, that was the beginning of all that. The conversation never was about hormones. I had my period when I was 10. And then I called my mother, and she was like, "Oh, okay, well then come out of the bathroom." And she also gave me a pad, which for a 10-year-old is just, it's like you're sitting on a pillow, a fluffy one. Side note, those pads that you said were the first ones that I mistakenly bought here when I lived in Serbia. And I was like, the fuck is this? What am I supposed to do with it? It's like a torpedo that you sit on. So my parents called me out. My mother handed me a book that explained everything from period, to having sex, to babies, to everything. Here you go. Here's a book. Read it. That's what you do. And my father joked that if we were in old-timey times, he would be able to sell me off for 2 cows. And then I read it, of course, because I was an avid reader. And by this time, I had all this information. So what did I do? I shared all my knowledge with all the children around. You scared the crap out of them. And I was the one who knew how babies were really made and where they came from and what happened and what an erection was. It's complete taboo in Balkans from the perspective, this is normal. This is what happens to everybody. Play it along, right? And then it was weird for me because I was 12. I remember that vividly. It was summertime. I was in Montenegro and my grandparents. I looked like I look today. I was already this high. My boobs were huge. I was so embarrassed. And I looked like a grown-ass young woman. I was hit on by boys who were 19 and 20. And I remember my grandma coming out of there like, "What are you doing? She's just 12. You're wrong."
It was so weird because I was so disconnected from my body. I was a child and my body completely transformed. And I was like, I don't know what's happening.
Well, so that means you would have fit in with today's girls who are 14 and 13 and look like they're in their 20s.
Yes, but keep in mind that the girls nowadays, there is a full makeup on, and I was dressed as a little girl, completely normal, no makeup. Oh my God, of course, no. And I remember that first time that I experienced full makeup was because of my dancing, contemporary dancing, and I was the part of this troupe. And we had in the one of the Belgrade biggest theaters show. That was the evening. I was 14. And that was the evening when I actually brought home my father's month salary. There was a makeup artist who did mine. And then I remembered when she handed over me mascara, saying, now you can do this on your own. And I remember that the trainer approached and said, she cannot. She never saw this in her life, right? And then they helped me with mascara as well. And I remember when the show was done, I went out to meet my brother and my mom. My brother was turning his back. And when I tapped him, he freaked out when he saw me. What's wrong with your face? It was so funny. But yeah, like at that time in Serbia, girls were girls, right? Not having this platform where they would be able to explore being a young female when they were entering their teenage years and all that. No, no, no. And the conversations would usually, if you had some questions, you would feel embarrassed to ask. And you would make everybody uncomfortable around you by asking those questions.
They're like, oh my God, here she comes with her big mouth.
Yeah.
Her modern questions.
Yes.
In my house, we only talked about things if you asked. Information wasn't given to you, but if you had a question, it was answered. Mostly in a scientific, here's a book type of way. We are very learned people. And my earliest memories of all of this is that when I finally started getting my period, from the first day, I was always in bed. Then later to find out that it was like endometriosis, but we didn't find that out until I was like in my 30s. But every month, my dad would be called. If my period started on a Monday, I wouldn't go to school on Monday. But if it started while I was in school, they would call my dad. And every month he would have to come to the nurse's office and pick me and take me home. And I would spend the entire day dying. And that's how it was all through high school, all through university, all through my life. Pain, terrible cramps, fucking migraine the day before until the moment I bled. When I was a teenager, we lived on the beach, and that's when I started using tampons because your period couldn't interfere with wearing your white OP bikini. And we used to take those big fat pads that you're talking about, not the ones in the net, but just the ones that look like a loaf of bread. No, a big slice of toast. And I would put them, if I knew I was going to the beach tomorrow, Saturday morning, I would on Thursday take a couple of pads and put them between big Encyclopedia Britannicas. So they would be very, very thin. So I could put them on with my bikini. But it wasn't taboo to the point that you would sit there with like other teenage boys and they would notice and they make fun of you. Ha, you're on your period. Is that why you have that thing between your legs? And you'd be like, shut up, asshole. It wasn't.
Oh, no. Here, first of all, what I was told, you never go swimming or into the water when you are on your period.
I know, that's
never,
why
ever.
But
right?
why? And you ask why, no one can tell you.
Then you never wash your hair while you are on your period. I asked the question why, because then you're going to cut your period and then you can make a mess internally. I was lucky in my own misery that I went through with the hormonal dysfunction, with the thyroid gland and all this, because my periods would come on 21.
Oh, mine have always, 28 days.
No, actually, no. 18 to 20, 21 days, depending, right? So that meant for me, I would have my period and then it's done. And the moment it's done, I'm already ovulating and I'm entering more or less PMS. Sometimes it happened that I had it twice. Yeah, I had it at the beginning of the month and the end of the month. But the lucky part for me was that I needed to go to the bathroom to see if I started to bleed. I did not have any pain. I would feel it maybe in my boobs. I probably felt it in my mood swings and stuff like that, which I did not at that point connected to it, but I just needed to check and I'm like, oh, I got my period, right? So no pain, no nothing. I would be.
I mean, isn't it enough pain to have it twice in a month when you're fucking 14? You have suffered enough for everyone. Here's your crown.
But on the other hand, I think that things for me drastically changed when I hit 16 and when I got this problem. The problem which actually escalated to the point where I ended up in hospital. And I was in the hospital for the whole month. After that, they released me, but then you start learning, right? And for me, the takeaway from all the experience, there was not specialists in Serbia or even Montenegro, where I went, that I actually encountered. These two people actually are aligned. And that, at early stage of all this, showcased me immediately how much they are tapping in the dark. They would say, oh, this is completely normal. And the fact that it was normal and that a huge number of female population had this kind of issue.
Oh, everybody I know.
Yes. And then on the other hand, that there is established scientific path how you approach to this and then how you treat it and make women comfortable during this whole. Remember, I was on different kind of therapy until I took it out for full 17 years.
So you really didn't know what was,
and
why your head was spinning, if it was puberty or if it was the drugs.
All that time, I had so many issues. I had kidneys issues. I had ovary issues. I had heart issues. I had big time. I had Bassett disease with my eyes. I was sleeping with my eyes open, right?
Like a fish?
Yeah. Oh my God. And then I'm not going to touch the fertility issues, right? All this was constant with me. So I didn't know. I didn't know if it's.
So you were like, yeah, that shit crazy. And
I was overweight. I looked like, oh my God, Halloween character with those eyes. Remember, this is all happening in my teenage years where kids are very mean, right? I was going through, I'm so hype and full of energy to the point I need to sleep through the whole day. I turn around and I had a hot flash and I'm completely covered with sweat. I was constantly hungry and constantly on diets, constantly gaining weight, which didn't make sense. It was so weird. So weird.
I don't think it sounds weird. I think it sounds terrible for a teenager to have to go through that. I remember that time of my life very marked with the visit of Mr. Charlie Rojas, which is the name that I have given my period ever since I can remember. Actually, I think it was a friend of mine in university who used to call hers Cradle Rojas, and I just took that. But this whole thing about calling it your aunt's coming to visit and other things that we say in different cultures, I'm pretty sure, doesn't justify that. A motherfucker needs a name and a last name. So when you refer to him, because we know it's a he, when you refer to him, we call him by what it is. He's here. He's ruining my life. I'm in pain because of him. I'm dying. And you know what the sad thing about all this was? That while I was a teenager and a young adult, my mother and everyone around me, every elder around me would tell me, this will all change when you get married. Translation, this will all change when you start having sex. Right? Because they couldn't actually tell you that. As in, those hormones will just reset themselves when you start having sex. Why having sex would make my period get better? My endometriosis go away? Who knows? That's an old wives' tale. Just like the don't get into the water,
Don't wash your hair.
Don't drink lemonade. For us, because we're island people, that whole don't get in the ocean is like bullshit. What do you mean I'm not going to get in the ocean? This is the only time I can go in here and I'm not bleeding anywhere. Woohoo, let's get in the ocean as much as we can. Washing the hair also doesn't really count because you're in the ocean. But the lemonade was something that my mother, don't drink it, but don't drink as much.
But do you know why? I learned actually why, which is like really weird because you should drink, especially if you have like really those heavy bleeds, right? Because vitamin C helps contract your uterus and the bleeding is not that heavy.
So why would you?
I don't know, because they want you to clean. This is the cleaning period for them, right? Everything that is wrong with the female through the month is going out. And you don't want to keep anything in.
Yeah, that makes sense to what you were told. Don't keep it in because then that is so gross. Why? Just misinformation. Just why old wives' tale everywhere. So it's going to get better when you got married. When I started having sex, not necessarily married, but I started having sex, I realized my period isn't getting better. So that's bullshit. So then it'll get better when you have a baby. It's always, it will get better. It will get better. It never got better. It got to the point where I could hear the blood leaving my body. Like when you take a gallon of milk or water, but milk because it's thicker, and you take the gallon and you just put it upside down and you can hear the bloop, 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 like that. That's how much. I remember taking myself to the emergency room, walking in and fainting. I remember people telling me, oh, your eyeliner's smudged. And I'm like, no, it's not my eyeliner because the lines, my dark circles would come down here to where like my mouth lines are, like a clown, because of how bad it was. And all along, the entire thing was every time you go see a doctor, well, you might want to have kids one day. So we're not going to do anything in case one day you want to have kids. And it wasn't until I was like, I don't want children, that they actually went in and they're like, oh, you have a tumor. You've been carrying it around for so many years. Yeah, this is the cause of all your problems. I had PCOS. I had pain to the point where I was in bed like with fevers every month. The amount that I would bleed would make me have to, well, obviously, revisit what you're going to wear, what you're going to do, where you're going to sit, travel. Everything was, my whole life was trying. It's like living with a violent man, right? You come home and you have to see what his mood is. Maybe he'll hit me. Maybe he won't. Maybe if I don't say something, if I don't react. That was the whole thing. I have to wait till Charlie comes to see how my life is going to be for the next week or so. Or maybe more, right? Because you start feeling it before.
Yes.
Wonderful PMS. We love you so much. And then during. And then obviously after, you still feel it. It's not like when your period's done, you wake up one day and you're like, I'm Let's go ride a horse. Which incidentally, we would go horseback riding even when we were on our period. So you can see how the difference between what the things that you can do is mostly based on the area that you're around, right? The vitamin C thing is a trip. People should know that. It should come written. I guess the expectation was one day you'll get married, right? Then you'll have children, and then it'll all get better. I never had a conversation with my mother as in, how was this journey for you? But I never heard my mother complain of pain. But that generation didn't complain.
Yeah.
So they could have been dying. And they probably were dying in several stages of their lives. And they never said anything because that's unsightly. It's not what you do as a female. But it never went away. It never felt any better. I never had a month that I could say, this is good. It was free migraine, exploding headache until beep, drop of blood, then pain for 4 days. Then on the 5th, taper off, and then I would be normal again. I have a cousin, her period would last 7 days, and she would turn into a sloth. All she would do is sleep. And not like sleep, I'm tired, let me take a nap. Sleep as in fall asleep while she was talking to you. It was terrible. Like it just disrupted her life forever. Because 7 days, and you'd be like, where's so-and-so? They're like, oh, she's in her room, dead to the world, sleeping all her life. And then bleeding, which is the worst thing. Also, I know a girl who once argued with me and my friend Jamie about, why are you wearing pads to sleep? You don't bleed when you're sleeping.
Oh my God.
We were like, bitch, what? And she's like, I don't wear pads at night. I just take them off. It's like the break you get so you can sleep. She didn't bleed when she slept.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Can you imagine?
You got jealous.
Jealous? Aren't you jealous now? Not bleeding when you sleep. When I slept, those pads that attach to the front of your bra and the back of your bra came to light because of sleeping. Because remember, it was one size fits all for everybody.
Yeah.
And then they started with the wings and the thin and the this and the whatever. And girls now don't even use. They wear underpants. But this girl, I can't remember her name. She didn't bled when she slept. And it was just insane for me.
You know what I find very fascinating? That yes, there are some relatable points, but everybody's experience is different. And I saw myself how I was changing. First, I was embarrassed about it. I was hiding it. And I was,
But yeah, because 10 is,
and then after that, I just accepted it as something that every woman is dealing with. And I tried to ignore any kind of impact on my well-being through the month it actually had, to the point where I became comfortable about it. Like going into the office and we should start a meeting and some people are being assholes. And then I completely openly say, so just for the information, I am currently PMSing, so please don't test me. Be aware.
I mean, in Spain, you have leave you can take, menstrual leave. By law, women don't have to go to work when they're on their periods because it's that painful. And no man will ever understand. There's so many things that men will ever understand, which is fine. There's things that we wouldn't understand. But when they come over and they try to explain to you that what you're feeling is not real. I had an uncle, my favorite uncle, who for some reason wrote a book. I mean, he's written many books. No. He's written many books, but one of the books was about female things. Told me, I was probably like 16, 15 or 16 probably, that it was all in my head, that I wasn't really feeling anything.
No. So there are certain boundaries that needs to be set. And I think that women are being very vocal and things are completely changing. And I think that the fact that even us at this age are talking about this a lot, I think it sets a really nice baseline for younger girls and everybody else when it comes to this. Look at my son. My son knows since he was probably 9 what the period is.
Well, you're a single mother.
Yeah. And I explained him and I told him this is not something weird. This is something, unfortunately, that is natural for us females. We're going through this every month, but he knows that I'm sensitive. He knows that I'm feeling more tired. He knows that I can have, my periods changed, especially after the birth. They intensified. They can be a little bit painful now. I'm very exhausted because of the heavy bleeding and all that. He knows. And he respects that, right? I'm very vocal about it. Like, Andrea, I'm literally dying. He's like, oh, mommy, you're on period. I said, yes. And he's like, can I get you anything? Because I think it is our responsibility as mothers to teach our sons about this.
I believe that men that have sisters, fine. They know. They've experienced. Oh, I never had that problem in my house. Like I said, in my house, here's a book, read on it. Educate yourself. No taboo, no anything. The boys know. Maybe it's a cultural thing. I don't know. But if you are a mother of 3 boys and they're off doing their 3 boys thing, they'll never know. Those are the men that afterwards have no clue, are shocked, and then you can't even send them to the store to buy you anything because they're like, oh, I can't go buy that. So yes, kudos to you and Andrea, who knows when we're PMSing. He probably thinks we PMS more than you and I actually did or do. But if you had a boy and a girl, he would have learned anyway.
Well, he has 3 sisters from my brother's side. So and because of the conversation that he and I had, he also shows appreciation to his sisters.
Well, yeah, and they're 3 girls. So he was going to be around it anyway. He was going to notice at some point, right? Because even if you didn't tell him anything, there's going to be a point where he's going to come in. They're all going to be PMSing because, of course, they're all synced. And one of them is going to turn around and cry and snap. He's not going to understand, wait, what did I say? I didn't say anything, which is absolutely okay. And it even surprises you when it happens the first time. So it's happening to you. You're going through this as a young girl. You know, the first shock is what's happening down here to my body, and the tiredness, and maybe in my case, the pain. But the first time you feel that surge of whatever it is that comes out, grief or rage or uncontrollable tears that you can't stop, that's a shocker. And then to actually acknowledge at 10 that every month, not only am I going to have to go through this, not only might it hurt, the shame and the embarrassment also that comes with it, and you're very self-conscious as a 10-year-old going with your fucking pillow pad in your pencil case to go change in the bathroom, aren't you, right? But on top of that, the fact that I'm going to have all these feelings and all this is going to come out and I might cry or I might get mad. So getting to the point where you're an adult walking into a meeting and saying, this is where I'm at, be warned, I think that's gross.
Yeah.
And we should all do it.
Yeah. And then what is really interesting for me, that period kicks off everything. It stays with us till the moment it decides to just go away at a certain age. But then all the transformation that our bodies are going through whole our life, they're massive. There's
And hormones have to do with everything.
yes.
And people don't know that. Like, hormones are from the moment we live, moment we die. This is why this episode is called From Cradle to Grave. And so much could be, so many medical tests, so many wrong diagnoses could be just if you just went and your doctor checked you for your hormones at any level and at any set. I mean, boy or girl, any age, hormones should always be checked.
And what is funny, the light at the end of the tunnel for me in this 17-year of hell was when I finally got the gynecologist, female, and then the chronologist, female,
Who heard you?
who heard me, and they worked together.
That's a beautiful moment when it happens.
Yes. That's the moment when things started looking up. It was clarity. Like, if we don't go with this, these are the things that you're going to experience, right? My heart was pumping 120 beats in a minute while I was sleeping. Can you imagine how it was pumping when I was awake or doing whatever? Yes. I finally at that stage had full clarity, how it impacted my reproduction system, how it impacted my kidneys, how it impacted my heart. Problem that people do not realize, and why I say people, because I think that not only women should be aware of it, but everybody should be aware of the fact how hormones are heavily impact the whole body.
We only refer to hormones during puberty because, and I'm going to say this, people are going to come after me. I believe the only reason you give that importance to hormones during puberty is because it happens to boys too. Otherwise, you wouldn't even mention it.
Yes.
Right? If your son right now wasn't going through mood swings of his own and anger and whatever it is that boys go through, it would be a female problem, so it wouldn't be talked about at all. But because they go through it too, that's why you're like, oh, kids are going through puberty. The hormones are there. They continue there forever.
Yes, but I think that the narrative is different because still, and maybe I'm wrong, but my feeling is that hormones are still very, very tightly related to women and their emotional behavior. It's a puberty.
Yeah, no.
Nobody talks to them like your hormones are doing this.
No.
We're talking very openly to them. And I see that from school and the conversation that they have, how their bodies are changing, how their voice is changing, how they're growing, how, all these things. But I don't think that the accent is on hormones because still everybody, when they mention hormones, it's a girl thing.
You never
Which
tell
is
them.
weird.
You never say to a man, stop being hormonal.
Yeah.
Yet for women, you're told that all the time.
Absolutely.
And it's hormones. For them, for us, everybody, it's hormones.
And then when you get to the point, like, I finally accepted and embraced all this, right?
I'm finally okay with the pain. I know it's coming. I know what to do. I know to schedule my work around it. I know to wear black. I know that if I'm traveling, I need to take something to tie around my waist. I know. I'm comfortable. I've established a relationship with Charlie. And now we know each other. We may not like each other, but we can travel hand in hand, then what happens?
Oh my God. Well, I think that we need to take this into the next episode. So,
When did we realize that hormones were running the show? Okay, I'll
Yeah.
start next episode. When do I realize? It's an eye opener, and it can be darker than what you think. But hormones have been running the motherfucking show since the moment we're born until we take our last breath, especially with men, right? They can have babies until they're in their 60s and 70s and whatever. So, yes, hormones, they'll never leave us. They're always here, hands in hand.
lucky for us. Yeah. So, we need to remind everybody who is listening to us, or maybe will be curious to listen to us. We definitely hope so. We are going to be on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and YouTube, social media as well.
Instagram and TikTok.
Absolutely. We will try to keep up with everything, and we would love women to reach out and to share, right? Because I definitely think that the experiences are unique, because we are all going through the same thing, but probably in a different pace, different life stage, different experience all up. So yes, as much as we share, I think that it would be more comforting to everybody, because then you know that you are definitely not alone.
We're not alone. We're all here for each other. Everybody and Charlie. Charlie's the only real allowed.